song? That song was from 1963. That song was Oh Denise. Yeah, sung by these guys, Randy and the Rainbows. And I'm sitting with the Safuto brothers. Dominick Safuto and Frank Safuto.
Hi Tom, how are you?
Hey, we're doing good.
All right.
Frank, always good to see you guys.
Same here again.
I keep a close watch on your schedule to whenever you come in within the gravitational pull of Cleveland,
Right.
my hometown. And I catch up with these guys periodically. We're in Wheeling, West Virginia now at the Capitol Theater. They have to get ready as soon as you get up on stage.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, they're going to sit and talk with us a little bit about how they got to be recording stars way back in the early 60s.
No.
You guys grew up in, where'd you grow up? What was your
Brooklyn, New
We
York.
were born in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And
We moved to Maspeth, Queens.
Yeah, I always associated you guys with Queens.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
You were born in Brooklyn.
Right.
How old were you when you moved to Queens?
I was about 5 or 6.
Oh, just a little kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was old, 9 years older than him.
Yeah.
You're 9 years older than that?
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So, when you guys moved out to Long Island,
Right.
were you singing at that time?
Well, we were singing
Yeah.
while we lived in Brooklyn.
We used to play records in the groups we liked, Gaylords, and a lot of the other groups that were out there.
A lot of singles, Tony Bennett, of course.
Oh, yeah?
That's how we
Sinatra.
played harmony and all that stuff.
Well, Jerry Vale, the
Right,
Italian.
right.
Because my mother's Italian and she loved the Italian singers. That's like
Yeah.
Sinatra. My father loved Sinatra.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go along.
Right. So you guys listened to that kind of music, but then whatever made you guys say, hey, let's start singing. Let's get a group together. How'd that happen?
Well, it was funny. We used to sing with our family, of course, sister, brother, an older brother and sister.
Oh, really? So there were four.
My old
Yeah.
brother,
He sounded
like Dean Martin.
Dean Martin, oh, yeah.
Without put-ons. If he would have acted like him more, he would have sounded exactly like him, but he did. I had a tape of him.
Oh, yeah.
So if he was your older brother, then from top to bottom in your family, were you the baby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, how many years from top to bottom were there? 15 years?
Oh, about
Sister's
20.
11 years older than me. And my brother's 10 years older than me.
20 years from top to, okay, in that family was 15
And I'm
years.
9 years older than him. My sister was about 21 years older.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you guys really couldn't be a singing group with a 5-year-old and a 26-year-old,
No.
okay? So that wouldn't work out. So the two of you guys got
Right.
together.
Yeah.
And see, it was like, with family, my sister actually taught us how to sing. She went for singing lessons. And then, I was, 2, 3 years old, and I remember her sitting me down, singing to me and pronouncing and everything else, the words and
How to
telling me.
breathe.
Yeah.
When you sing, you take a deep breath. And you feel the cold in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
And that makes you hit the notes more solid.
But you're just a little infant. You're just a little
Yeah,
kid.
and well, then what happened was we would be singing, and when we moved from Brooklyn to Maspeth, he used to go back to Brooklyn every once in a while.
Everybody's over there.
Yeah. So the only time I went is if he drove me there, and I'd see some of my friends.
Yeah.
And what happened was. He came home one night, and he used to hang around with about 20 guys or more. And my cousin Eddie, this guy Johnny Chico, who sang, my cousin Eddie sang. So he came home one night and he said, you got to come with me tomorrow to Brooklyn. And I go, why? He goes, well, we got about 20 singers. None of them can sing except 4.
A lot of them started singing when
Yeah.
little by little they started. Everybody started to let go and walk away. Well, I can't do this. They knew they couldn't sing.
So the group kept getting smaller and smaller.
Until we got with the 4 of us.
Now who was the four of
The
us?
4 of us was Johnny Chico,
Right.
my brother, of course, my cousin Eddie, and myself.
Right.
And
What was the name of this group?
Johnny and the
Yeah,
Intrigues.
Johnny in the trees. He used to do the lead.
Yeah, he was
Johnny.
Johnny. Yeah,
Johnny Ciccone.
Okay.
Everybody called him Chico.
yeah.
Because he was short.
And he did the leads, and we did the backgrounds and everything. And we did everything that was out at the time. Down at the Belmonts, whatever, One Summer Night, the Dantons. You name it, we did it. And
So we're talking that our time frame is roughly 1960 1960, 61, 59?
58.
58.
Oh, we're talking earlier.
Oh, yeah, 57, 58.
Chico, that's why he left.
He said he joined the army.
That's what you crazy? What are you going to the army for? Is this a war? Nothing? He said, I gotta go. Okay. So he was in there for 4 years. So he was in there for at the end of 58, or 59, 61, 2. And he came back, and he didn't know anybody. All his friends were gone. He didn't know any of the girls. So I was going out with this one girl, and he said, he introduced me to the girl. I introduced him, and Madeline, this girl, and I was going out with her girlfriend.
Right.
And then he came back, and he I don't know if he wanted to sing anymore, but Eddie was still with us, and we were hanging out in the corner. This is when Chico was in the army, and he said, I don't think these girls over here, they're singing at the Selman house, and this is the house where my mother and father had a wedding reception.
Yeah.
Right?
Going back.
It's on the
Wow.
corner of Jackson and Manhattan.
So we're talking about Brooklyn.
Yeah,
Right.
in Brooklyn. And so, well, let's go. So we went in there, we sat down, and they got up, the girls. And it was this girl, Rosalie, that was in there, Rosalie Caliendo. And it was 3 or other girlfriends. This one girl, she sounded like a bass. She had good, good, they were good. But after a while, I guess they were getting older and they were going to break away from each other. So she says, I'm breaking up with them. I said, oh, why? You girls are good. They don't want to do it anymore. No, okay. So he looked at me, and Eddie looked at me, so he says, how about we try her out,
Yeah.
She says, okay, if I don't fit in, I'm not going to do anything.
But she did.
She fit
The
in.
first night. The first night.
First night. And we used to get together all the time.
We knocked off, I think, about 10 songs the first night. You name it, we did it, from When I Fall
You
in
guys
Love.
put together the dial.
Dialtones, right. And we did everything from like When I Fall in Love, Why Don't You Write Me, Sentimental Journey. We did a lot of, classic
Now,
stuff.
where did the group sing? Where did you perform?
Well, we sang in our mother and father's apartment in Brooklyn.
Well, that's where you rehearsed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we wound up going to, the manager we had, he wrote too, Joe DeAngelis. He wrote a lot of stuff. And
What did he write that we would recognize?
well, he wrote Till I Heard It From You. He wrote, oh my God.
With George Coleman.
Yes,
As soon
and
as he heard us, he looked at him, and he says, you guys stick around.
How did you get to Golder? Because Golder's doing all this other stuff
Oh, yeah.
with Frankie Lyons.
Well,
Well, this guy...
Nick Quizzato.
Nick Quizzato.
He-
He knew the people. So he says, we're going to go to, what's his name's office, and we're
In
going to...
Manhattan, took you downtown?
yeah, 1650 Broadway.
He said, you're gonna, sing and see if he likes you. Okay. So we went in there, we started singing, and we were harmonizing, blah, 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 blah. So he looked at us. Okay, he said, you stay on the side there. He said, bring the next ones in, and then he would just tell them to go. Said he hired us.
Yeah.
We did 20...
Johnny Till I Heard It From You.
Rosalie wrote that song.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, but somebody must have heard it, and they wrote
Oh, yeah.
1,000 Stars in the Sky.
Right.
Johnny, my dear.
1,000 stars in the sky
Right,
make me realize.
right, and we told
Gene
him.
Pearson, the Reveliers.
Yeah.
That's Sweet 1,000 Stars.
So
Yeah.
we said,
He took that for Rosalie's song.
right,
Yes.
so we said,
And
That's why I call it cross-pollination, because everybody borrows from...
well, you know how they borrowed back then? In the CBS building in New York, a lot of groups, including ourselves, from Denny, the Dialtones, Randy and the Rainbows, we used to rehearse in the studios, which, like as big as this room, you had a whole wall full of mirrors where you wanted to do your steps, you could do everything you had to do in there. A piano, and, that's where we rehearsed. So we were rehearsing stuff that we were going in to record, which was Johnny, Till I Heard It From You, and I think we did Why Don't You Write Me,
Yeah.
and another one, I forget. But people outside the door, they hear it, they go, oh, I like that.
They get a little-
And they start, right, they start writing their own stuff down.
I think
And,
Big Jagged.
well, the same
Stole a lot of songs
way.
like
Yeah, the same way. So it's like, what happened, George Goldner, we told him, we said, after he said we're going in to record, which we did, he turned around and he said, I'm gonna release Till I Heard It From You. I like Till I Heard It From You. We told him, we said, but Johnny, something about it, and he says, well, I picked up, I made a lot of hits. And you can't argue with the guy. He did. I mean, he produced the Flamingos, my good friends, the teenagers and all. And, yeah, I mean, you name it, and he recorded so many hits. So it's like we said, well, Mr. That's right. He turns around. The record came out. It started making noise Till I Heard It From You, and it just didn't. We thought it had, the thing the sound to make it, which of course, if you listen to it, I think it still does. But it made a New York hit. It made a lot of noise. Right. And what happened? Rosalie started getting, like sick of it, like to where we would go traveling on buses, Boston and you name it. We were on a bus traveling all over the place and playing with a lot of the groups that we do with today. And I was only at the time 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
And with the Flamingos and the teenagers, I remember we were in the studio with them. You wait outside in the waiting room, and you're having your coffee, whatever you want to have. And little Anthony was there recording. The Flamingos were there recording. The teenagers were there recording. So now it's like when I'm listening to them, and when they came out, I just looked at them like, oh my God, you guys sound great, and thank you. And I was little, so Jimmy Merchant, he cracked up because I told him. He looked at me and through the years, I go, Jimmy, I got to tell you something you may not even remember, but they were the Dialtones. He goes, they recorded for George, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, what about him? I said, me and my brother. He goes, what? I said, do you remember in the studio one night, you guys were doing Goody Goody, and with Frankie, and I was there with the Dialtones, of course, my brother, my cousin, and all of Rosalie. And when you guys came out of the studio, I just looked, you guys are great. And he said, thank you so much. He shook my hand, and then he just walked out, and the Flamingos were there. He says, I remember that. I said, little Anthony. He goes, of course he did. Please say you want me to. And another one, I forget. I think it was either Shimmy Shimmy Kokobuck or something. And he goes, I do remember that. So we wound up later on in years seeing each other, and it was like,
You told
that little kid in there.
you told him, he said, you should release.
Good.
Not Till I Heard It From You. He said, well, I picked hits. I said,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So what happens about a week later?
No. What? Till I Heard It From You came out,
Yeah.
made noise, and then Rosalie got disgusted and said, well, I'm leaving. Yeah, so we said, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So with that, it must have been about 3 months or more, right, that passed. And 1,000 Stars comes out, right to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Kathy Young version?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So now, we get a call from George Goldner. Guys, get together right away. Come up, I got to talk to you. We walked into his office. He said, sit down. He had a stack of music like this. And
He had this black guy.
I played keyboards. I forget his name, but he was the arranger.
Piano player.
Yeah,
Played his song.
he was the arranger.
Was it Richard Barrett?
No, I don't know.
He keyboarded. He arranged a lot of his
Yeah,
stuff.
Richard Barrett, who
Must have.
put together the Chantel.
Okay, it must have been him.
And he put together Frankie and the Teenagers.
Mhm.
He put together, he put together Little Anthony and the Imperials, but he got them their contract with Goldner.
Yeah.
Richard Barrett, yeah.
Well, it must have been him. But more than likely, I don't think George would let.
He says, you were right.
Yeah. Yeah, he said, I'm sorry.
It came out.
Yeah.
He says, but now that's in the past.
He said, but I'm gonna get you a
"What
hit.
songs that you want to do?"
He says,
Then we'll do.
yeah, I'll get you a hit record.
Yeah, we picked out 2 songs.
Rosalie,
But we made the demos of them. And then she
and,
turned around and said, "No, I can't do this."
yeah.
Now, we're talking roughly 1960.
Yeah.
We're talking
Yeah, right, 5960, right,
Well,
right,
1960 was when Kathy Young had
Right.
1,000
Right.
stars.
and 59 was,
Gene Pearson and the Rivaliers, he had that song, he wrote that song, it bounced around for a while, didn't do anything. But then Kathy Young took it and went to the top.
Yeah. With that, we got the call, like we said, from George. We went back, and Rosalie leaving the group, he said, "I'll get you another lead singer." Well, he got us a lead singer, no good, no
She
good.
sounded like Connie Francis.
Yeah, he wound up Billy Day and the Dialtones. He released 24 Hours. He released Why Don't You Write Me under another name, Billy Day and the Dialtones, and that was us. And we never knew anything about it. Day and the Dialtones wound up being us because friends of mine that knew when we recorded those records said, "Hey, I heard your record on the radio." We go, "What?" He goes, "Billy Day and the Dialtones." We said, no, and then he winds up getting me a copy, and we listened to it, and we go, "That is us," But the girl, we didn't like her voice.
What label were you on? Were you on Gold or?
Gold disc. Everything was working out until we heard her voice, and nothing against her, but she wasn't a Rosalie, And
So how long did you guys go as either the Dialtones or Billy Day and the Dialtones until you became the group that you are today?
well, what happened? We stopped. We broke the group up, the Dialtones.
She left, but we had a contract about for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then the contract expired.
So
We can't start another group because we're signed.
yes.
But then we expired, and that's when, I wasn't in the group then. He started with this other guy, Mikey, and,
Kenny Archipowski. Well, I went to school with them.
there was 2 sets of brothers in this
Yeah.
group.
Zero?
Yeah, right.
That's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
What group, the only group that had 2 sets of brothers in it,
Yeah?
and they weren't related.
So, it was funny that we went to school together. We were singing.
What school did you go to?
Junior high school, 73.
73.
And we wound up from there graduating and going on to Grover Cleveland. But I wanted to go to Grover Cleveland High School. They wouldn't let me go. They said it was out of my district. Meanwhile, the kid across the street from me is going to Grover Cleveland, one of my friends. So I said, okay. So they sent me to Newtown High School. From Newtown High School, I didn't like the subjects they were giving me. I mean, now that I think about it, I was stupid. I should have taken them. I was the only boy in every class. All the rest were girls. And I mean, I'm there. I'm taking STEM. I'm taking typing. I'm taking accounting. I'm taking all of this different stuff. And I mean, I could have used it to my advantage, But I guess I wasn't thinking about that at the time. But I passed. But then I quit there, and I wound up going to Grover Cleveland. Going to Grover Cleveland was when I started Randy and the Rainbows. It wasn't Randy and the Rainbows. It was, the Junior and the Counts. From Junior and the Counts, we went to the Encores, and then we recorded under the Encores.
Any releases?
No, they made,
No.
him and his group, they made demos.
Yeah.
Right? They had a 5th guy in his group, Dennis,
Yeah.
and he got some sort of trouble, with stealing a car, and the cop says, "You got any relatives somewhere?" And he said, "Yeah, New Mexico." They told him, "Go with them." He said, "If you stay here,
You're going to jail.
you're going in."
Yeah.
He left. He asked me then, "Come in, sing with us." I said, "Well, you got 4 guys. You're down, we want 5.
Yeah, but Sal Zero was not a singer.
So what demos did you sing that we would recognize? Anything?
Oh my God, we did I'm So Happy.
Louis Lemon,
Yep,
18 quarters.
yep. We did that, we did Your Way. You'll always will remember, you never will forget.
Whose song was that? Who recorded
That was the Heartbeats.
Heartbeats. Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of different things like that we were recording. And we went, I'll never forget the first one. We took a ride into Harlem and, you know, Winley Records. And,
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
yeah. So we went there and...
His brother sang with the Clovers.
Right. Right? And he turns around and we walked in, he goes, "Can I help you?" We said, "We'd just like for you to listen to some of our demos." He listened, he goes, "Sounds good, we got Louis, you know, Louis Lamont. Nice, the Heartbeats, a lot of good stuff, good harmonies and all." But, okay, so then we wound up leaving, and a lot of the people in the district there were, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here, you know." You know, so back then, we just left it alone, got on the train, came home. And a friend of mine, had to be at least 3 months later or whatever, this is 1962. And he says, he had a group. He says, and a manager, a lady, he says, "My manager's telling me that there's a Neil Levinson, a friend of hers, wrote this song, A Girl's Name, and he's looking for a group to record it." And I said, "So what do you guys, why don't you just record it?" He goes, "Well, they're looking for somebody with like a four-season type sound, this and that, you know." So I said,
That were managing for them.
yeah.
And I
So-
came into the group, and
Did I
they said, "We want a studio." You know, our studio was Mikey's basement where we used to sing. And so we went there, we met the girls, and he says, "Okay." He says, "Well, this is a record, this guy Neil Levinson wrote." Okay, what is it? Denise.
He did it
So
like,
they put it on, and you hear it, Denise.
yeah.
Oh, with your eyes so blue, Denise. It was like a slow ballad. And they says, we wanted like, Denise. Oh, with your eyes so blue.
Yeah.
Stomping, that's what was going.
Like Four Seasons, you know, he goes,
Yeah, try the Four Seasons sound. But we're not then. Because so you got your own sound.
So what's popular about the Four Seasons now? Big Girls Don't Cry,
Right.
right? And
Right.
that was at the top of the charts.
Right.
So
Right.
you want a sound that is similar to that.
Yeah.
So we went down to the basement, and the Mikey's basement, and we started trying to sing it.
so we put it together,
parts, and I started with the background. And I took the record home, we played it in our house, and we listened to it, and I said, "Hey, can we do with this?" We tried like a couple of weeks. And then all over, so we went down to the basement, I'm saying,
just hit us.
"Oh, Danny,
Yes.
doobie-doo," I come up, doobie-doo. Whoa, I kept going, "I'm in love with you, Danny." They would do bass on that side. The second side, come back, I was doing false tenor.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. But then it started clicking in. So they came down, the girls, and then they "Did you get this going?" Goes, "Yes," because they got Lowry Records. They wanted somebody to record it. They liked the song.
And the Tokens liked it.
They became our producers.
Right, but they take you to, well, Rust Records
Right.
Right.
was a
Lowry.
subsidiary.
Of Lori.
Lowry.
So they came down, we put our demo on, you know, I tape record, and we put it on to listen to it. That sounds good. We like it. So I gave the tape, they took it to the Tokens, and they says,
They want to see us.
they want to see us. So they lived on
Bay Parkway.
Coney Island Avenue,
Yeah.
down here.
Right Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So we went down there.
with that, we went there. We auditioned for them. They fell in love with the group right away, and we did a lot of their songs too. And they were like, who's showing you the backgrounds to all of this stuff? How are you just learning it?" And they said, "Well, Randy shows us a lot of the stuff, you know, the width. Like my brother, I didn't worry about. I just would do the first tenor, and he fell right in. Mikey, Kenny, Sal, forget him. Sal was I hate to say, but the worst singer in the business, really. I did a lot of his stuff on record because he couldn't do it. People were saying, why don't you get rid of him? I felt sorry, really. I felt sorry for the guy. His own brother, Mikey, said, get rid of him. He can't sing. Why we got him? And I felt bad, at the time. I mean, we're friends, this and that. So we kept him. And some stuff, I mean, he would pick up quick.
He could sing.
He would pick up.
And kind of we go,
He couldn't.
He still kept going,
So it was like, I'll do his part, I do the lead, and then I'll record his part in the background. So that's what we were doing. And, we were getting disgusted after a while from constantly showing him at rehearsals.
The last song he did with us as well.
I'll be seeing you.
Right.
But was he on Denise?
Yes.
Yeah, he was on.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, a lot of songs he was on.
Yeah.
When Denise,
Happy Teenager.
when Denise hit the airwaves,
Right.
where were you when you first heard it?
In the house. We were I'll never forget, we were painting.
Painted the bedroom.
The bedroom or the boiler room, I thought. Yeah, we were doing the boiler room first.
The boiler room.
And for my mother, we had the radio on,
What are you listening to?
and it was,
Lioness.
yeah.
Ben 10.
Right. Well, what happened the first time we heard it, a friend of mine had told me they're breaking the record in Boston, WBZ radio.
Yeah.
So we said, how are we gonna get it? So my sister at the time, she lived upstairs. My mother just bought a new house, three family. And my sister was upstairs, we lived in the middle floor, and my uncle lived on the walk-in. And she had like a short wave, a regular, the radio was outrageous. It picked up from all over certain times of the night.
Yeah.
So we were upstairs and we figured, let's see if we could catch it. And we catch WBZ radio,
It wasn't that strong, but.
Yeah. And then you hear, here's a new one by a group called Randy and the Rainbows. And Denise, here we are like, oh man, and then finally, like, we're hearing it and it was, wow.
I told my mother that we recorded a record. She said,
Yeah. So she turns around and we give her the record. We gave her the record. And I mean, it was the same thing like with us. When the first time we really heard it on, like at the house, we got a call from the Tokens, not knowing it was them. But they says, hello, Dominick Safuto, please. I said, I'm on. That was the last I heard. All of a sudden they hear the record, Denise start.
Okay, you're down.
Right.
Who's Randy?
Well, that wound up being
That's why
me.
they changed the name.
Who changed the name?
Lori.
Yeah, Lori changed.
Lori Records changed it all.
And did Lori tell you or you that you're Randy?
Yeah.
He was a singer.
They told me.
They pointed to you, said you're Randy. And you said,
Yeah.
I'm Dominick.
Because the funny thing, we recorded the record, signed contracts and all, under the Encores. So now, here we are, the Encores, and the Tokens call us. They played Denise. We're over there. Who is it? And they got back on the phone after it finished. They said, guys, it's the Tokens. We got your records. Come on up and pick them up. We ran into the city right away, got in the car, drove.
Yeah.
And we got them, and they go, here. So we got them, and we go like, who's Randy and the Rainbows? And they go, well, you guys, Randy and the Rainbows. And who's Randy? And they go, you did the lead? I said, yeah, you're Randy. And I go, what happened? They said, Lori Records fell in love with the name Randy and the Rainbows. And that's your name from now on. So, of course, when the record came out, and people starting to buy it, we weren't too happy about it, because Randy and the
They
Rainbows.
said, what's your name of the group?
Rainbows. Yeah, So people, excuse me, what's the name of the group? Randy and the Rainbows. Oh, Denise,
You mean, they didn't know the name of the group,
Well,
the song.
the song.
All we had to say was Denise.
That's the way it is even today.
Yeah.
You say, I'm with Randy and the Rainbows. Who's that? You know that song? And then you play Denise. Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
That's that.
Right, and that's the way it was. So through the years of recording, with the Randy and the Rainbows and the Tokens, we did have our ups and downs. The only problem was the Tokens should have done things a lot quicker with us than what they did, because it was like
Records told them.
they had, they had.
Working with other groups, we're working with the Chiffons at the
Right,
same time.
but so it was a thing.
And Lori Records, too.
Yeah, so it's like, Lori says, I want, and then we had, right after we recorded Denise, and it was out, it must have been about 2 or 3 months after that, the record was, going up the charts. And Neil Levinson comes up and he goes, what do you think of this record? He plays Why the Kids Grow Up. Love it, because right away it snapped right in.
Was it Take One?
Another Denise. And
When you first hear it, you think of it.
yeah. So it's already there, like the Four Seasons, Sherry, Big Girls. You got your clown, you got everything happening already. So that's the way it was with us. So we went into the studio thinking that we were going to do it the same way. Why do kids grow up? Instead of that, we're like, why do kids laugh and cry? Who puts the love in their eyes?
Slow. They said, no, you gotta do it.
And it was like, come on.
We
So,
stopped on those records.
yeah, so we,
Down Coca-Cola cakes.
but with all of that, it was like, it got to the point that they pushed aside. Finally, we told them, after recording about 5, 6 other songs in the studio there, within 2 days, 3 days, we recorded like 5 or 6 songs. And they turned around, we said, why do kids grow up? Why don't we do it like Denise, the same way? And they says, okay, let's do it. Now the record is like, had to be at least maybe 7, 8 months already that we had it, right? We went into the studio, they said, okay, here's where we'll start it, boom, 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 and right in, Why the Kids. So we did it like that, and the group was doing the background, and I was in the booth listening to them, with the Tokens, and I'm going, it sounds good. And I just started messing around like I always did, They'll be singing outside, I'll be singing in the booth, and I'm like, why do kids grow up? So they says, get out there and sing with them. I go, what? They go out and sing with them. So I went, as soon as we did it, it was like, let's do a sound check. We did like 4 to 8 bars we did. They go, the sound is great, stay the way you are. Boom. Here we go. Into it, everything just started sounding and clicking, And then I did a rough lead, just with the music so they could get it. I did a rough lead. And I wound up, after recording the background with the group, Jay of the Tokens says, I don't think you need to do another lead. I said, Jay, I'm lucky if I did the song twice. And I know I can do it better.
Right, let me do it again.
Yeah, so he said, really? I said, Jay, let me do it. So he goes, okay. I walk out. I says, hold on to that cut, hold on to that take. And if for some reason it just don't happen, at least we got that, So he goes, okay. So they save it. I do the take. They go, stay just the way you are, Rand, and one more time. And I went through it again. They overdubbed it. I did an overdub on it. They mixed it in with the vocals and all. Came out. It sounded great. Then they go, okay, we got Coca-Cola boxes, the wooden ones, remember years?
The yellow ones.
We turned them upside down.
Yeah.
Turned them upside down. Now, see the shoes you got? That's what we had to have. We couldn't wear sneakers.
No.
They had to have a soul like that. And we're over there. That gave it the sound with the drum.
Yeah.
We're playing with the snare drum, so that really gave it a beautiful crack,
It came out when they released
came out, and it should have been out. Lori Records for 4 or 5 months was saying, I need a new one, madam, I need a new one. Okay, here. They wound up giving it to them. When they heard it, they flipped. They said, this is what we wanted, 4 months ago. It would have been great. They put it out. The record, the first 3 days.
First week.
Yeah.
24,000.
4,000. And then it started going. Started picking up.
Then Kennedy got
killed.
assassinated. They said,
Everything.
Yeah.
we're holding everything where it is, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the whole record industry just died.
We went on tour. with the
Four Seasons.
As a matter of fact, when Kennedy got shot, Dale and Grace had I'm Leaving It All Up to You as number 1.
Right.
And after that, the song that occupied the number 1 spot for the rest of the year, the next 5 weeks,
Yeah.
Dominick
Yeah.
by the Singing Nun.
Nun.
Well, that wasn't even rock and roll.
No.
But no songs were
It was
being
18
issued.
weeks on the chart.
But no songs were being issued.
Right.
Nothing was
Right.
out to compete with it. That's why that song was number 1 for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But your song too is held back.
Mm-hmm.
So we went on tour, we went to Florida, it was our first professional job, and we meet the Four Seasons.
That
We
was,
went over,
that was
you told Frank, hey, come and have dinner with us, we'll buy you dinner. Okay, so we were talking with him, blah, blah, blah. He turns around, he says, well, guys, you want to go on tour with me? Dion Ward,
yeah, we thought we were joking.
Meros, and other singers and all. Yeah, well, where we going? We go upstate New York,
All over Erie,
Pennsylvania,
Canada.
to Canada.
Did you guys go?
Yeah.
We went to
You
it.
went?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in Canada, and they were crazy people.
Oh,
They had cops over there. These cops were like, I'm a big guy. These guys were twice my size.
Oh, my God.
One had suspenders on. They weren't this way. They were this way. That's a whiny.
yeah, he
They
says,
escorted us to the stage, right? When we went on stage, about 4 or 5 fights broke out.
all over the place.
All over.
Oh, boom,
They had
boom.
to break them up, and then when we finished, come on, stay around us.
Yeah.
They walked us off.
Well, the show was in a big arena,
Yeah.
like 50,000 people or more.
And they
What city were you in? Ottawa?
No, it was, the Canada,
police, I think.
yeah, right. with the-
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, was it Toronto?
That's in Toronto,
We
yeah.
were in Toronto.
Maple Leaf Gardens, they call it?
Yeah, so we're in the dressing room and these guys change. So Bob Gaudio comes over to us, me and him, and he says, hey, I wrote you guys a song. I said, really? So Frank Valley heard it, he turns around and says, no, he says, you don't give anybody a song until I hear
Because
it.
they're partners.
He said, partners. I said,
But
Okay.
we never heard it. It was a long time since we heard it. He says, well, we'll talk and we'll see what we can get for you. So we just forgot about it. So now it was, we finished off the tour, we left, we came back, and we got a call from Murray Kay. He says, I need you in Long Island. Now we had just gotten off the tour the week before and left to go to Louisville, Kentucky. And we were in Louisville, Kentucky for 3 days, and we wound up leaving and coming back to this city. As soon as we got back, it was like, I gotta hit the bed, get some sleep.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
All of a sudden,
The phone rings.
yeah, because it's
Who's his manager?
Murray Kay.
Yeah. He says, you gotta come down. He says, he announced you guys are gonna be there. He didn't know, he said, you guys can sue. I said, we're not gonna sue.
No, he
He
says,
said, do me a favor, come down here. So,
Where, Brooklyn, Paramount? Where you-
well, no, that was
Long Island.
in Long Island.
It was a month,
Yeah, it was the mall,
outside.
it was a mall, I forget, the Green Acres Mall in Long Island. And we wound up doing it, and there must have been about 30,000 people or something there. The whole parking lot was packed. They had, I think, a police car to drive us up to the stage and then drive us back. But after we did that, it was a day or two later, we get another call from Murray Kay. I need you at East Meadows High School. I'm putting on a concert there, I want you guys there. So, okay, we wound up get the guys together. We drive to East Meadows High School. As soon as we walked up, the people already down the basement, walk through these doors, go right down the basement there. All the groups are there that are going to be for tonight. We walked down, and right there, Frank Valley and the Seasons is sitting at the table. I had my nieces with me, my older brother, may he rest in peace, he was there. And they walked over right away. We walked over to them, hugging them, kissing them, the Seasons and all. How you guys doing? You look great, this and that. And, good. And my nieces are like, and I go, Frank, I want you to meet my nieces, and he's over there, and I give him a kiss on the cheek and all.
Who else was there?
And
One singer, he walked.
Pat Boone was there, Tom Jones, he was there, Paul Anka was there. Oh my God.
He's the guy.
There were so many people.
He sounded gay, but he really wasn't. He was really a nice guy. I forget the song. He did it twice. He did it fast, and then he did it slow.
Nelson Dacker. Yeah, he was there. So Frankie says, to me, he goes, Randy, can I talk to you? So my group is doing. I go, yeah, what are we going to talk about? He goes, when we were on tour, he goes, you guys were singing a lot of our stuff. Of course, not on the stage. We would go back to the hotels. Hey, here's one by Frankie Valley and the Seasons in my group. We'd sing whatever was on their albums. We would do cuts from their albums. So that's when Nicky turned around and said, who's teaching you guys the harmonies of the group? So then Randy shows us everything. So he goes, how do you do? What do you play? I said, I play drums. He goes, I go, but everything is with my ear. That's it,
So I could record.
Yeah, so it was like putting it all together was simple. I'd listen to it and I could knock it out like that. Once I had the first part, the rest was natural, And with him, I just said, Frank, do first tenor, do second tenor, whatever it was, and he fit right in, he knew. So that made it a lot easier for me. But he turns around and he says, well, being all of our stuff. He goes, you've been there, you've shown us the stuff that we did, and you're showing us that you could do it. He goes, Nicky doesn't want to sing anymore.
Nick Massey wanted to leave the group.
Yeah, he wanted to leave.
But he didn't want to travel.
Didn't want to perform.
Yeah. So.
Who's talking to you now?
Frankie.
Frank Valley.
Yeah. And Bob Gaudio, they were all there. And he goes, I want you in the group.
Wants you in what group?
Four Seasons.
He wants you to become one of the Four Seasons.
Right. And me, like a dummy.
What did you say?
Like a dummy, I turned around, I said, well, man, I love you. I idolize you. And I would love to, but I got my group, And he turned around, he said, well, I understand that. He goes, I'm going to give you $2,000 a week. This is in 1964. He said, I'm going to give you $2,000 a week. Anywhere we go, you don't worry about nothing. You're going to be picked up by limo. You're going to be dropped off. You're going to be picked up with the plane. You're going to go here. You're going to do this. Everything is there for you. You don't lay a dime out. All we'll do is put your money in the bank, and that's it. You don't worry about nothing. I said, could I call you, give me a call in 2 weeks? He goes, no problem. He said, I'll call you in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks came, and Mike Zero, the only one in the group that turned around and said, and what about us? Everybody else in the group said, do what you gotta do.
Sure.
Me being like, I don't want to screw my friends. I mean, we're friends. That was the last thing on my mind, to think of screwing him.
Loyalty. Loyalty to my friend, to my friends.
Right.
Yeah, well, Sal left the group in '69. He couldn't sing anymore.
Yeah.
You should kind of above him.
Yeah,
we kept progressing.
Yeah.
And he couldn't progress with it, so he says, this is my last record, and that was up.
Oh, we did, I'll be seeing you.
Yeah. Right.
And
then Kenny, after we fired him because he never showed up for rehearsal. He got on stage, he did all weird stuff, he pushed you around.
it was funny, when we were on tour at the beginning, he never bothered with women. And the women would look at him and, want to be with him and all, and he was like a kid. And of course, when he did meet his first girl, that was like, whoa. He forgot about Randy and the Rainbows, and it was women.
Yeah.
That's all he was involved with, women. He couldn't. So Kenny had passed away about 3 years ago. He had passed, And I mean, it was a great loss. I mean, he was a friend of mine.
But what did you tell Frankie that?
Well, Frankie, when he called me back in 2 weeks, we were away, I forget where we were, but when we came back, I mean, we just got in the door, and well, I went upstairs, unpacking, he's unpacking, and my mother, may she rest in peace, she says, Dominick, come down here. I said, well, what's that? She goes, Frank Valley's on the phone. So I said, do you know who he is? She goes, is he the leader of the Four Seasons? I said, you got it. So she turns around and she goes, what does he want? So she's standing there right while I'm talking to him. And I go, Frank, I'd love to be with the group.
Come on, you're about to be one of the Jersey boys.
Yeah. And I said, Frank, I know I'm stupid, and I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. I know it, and I'm sorry. I got a bond with my group. I don't want to screw my brother. I said, what do I do? I said, if I'm with you, I can't do anything with them anymore. It's over. He said, well, I know where you're coming from. He said, I understand it. Now, if he was another type of guy, all he had to do was tell me, your brother will be in the group in another month. Because Tommy wound up leaving the group.
Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, he wound up leaving the group. So he seen that me and my brother knew all of their stuff. We sounded like them. I mean, vocally, we could come off with the softness and everything else that was there, And all he had to do was say, listen, he goes, you're going to be with us for the month. You're going to be singing, traveling with us. When Tommy leaves the group, your brother is in the group. And now we're settled.
Right.
I would have turned around right then and there and said, well, I'm in the group. But because of not wanting to screw my brother, not wanting to screw the guys, and what happens later on in years, you find out that the one guy that wasn't, like, what about me? Screws the two of us.
He quits anyway.
No, not quits. I mean, he's wound up screwing us in big ways with money.
Yeah.
All right. After that, you were promised another record.
Yes, we had another record that we were doing. Well, it was actually a thing that was, they wrote it for me, and Neil Levinson, of course, and Minstrel Man. It was, he wrote it for Tony Orlando, and he said, if Randy don't do it, he said you could do it. But Tony says, let Randy do it. I mean, it would be nice to see him get another hit, right? So here we go. This is like 70, 71 or something like that, 72.
It was 77 when we came out with
it. When we came out with it. But we went in and recorded it. Orchestra, you're talking 40 pieces or better, with horns, strings, everything. The record, a great record. Millennium Records heard it, the way we did it. They flipped.
we did it ourselves.
We produced it and all. And Jimmy Einer, of course, he was the president of Millennium Records at the time. He fell in love with the group and the song. He goes, Randy, you got a #1 hit nationwide. This is a #1. So he goes, I'm going to make it that. So we said, great, here. Okay, we're back, What happened was his brother, this I find out,
Years later.
man, it had to be about 3 or 4 years. The record was being heard all over the United States. People wanted to buy it. They were going crazy, like, I want the record we changed the name, because Jimmy Einer said, we'll change the name. Not Randy and the Rainbows, we're going to put it out as Madison Street. So here we are, and it's the disco time,
Oh, yeah.
So the other side, King of Love.
And Neil wrote too.
Yeah, like a 4-season thing.
Right.
I mean, that was big orchestrated too. We did it with Harold Wheeler was the arranger. He arranged, a lot of the Well, he was involved with the Star Wars. Well, we had a meeting, and of course the guy Vinny Corello, who was I took him into the group. He passed away some years back, I think. But Jimmy didn't like him because he seen the way he was. He saw right away the type of person that Vinny was. I want to take it away from him. I'm the guy, not Randy.
Not him,
So,
Randy.
yeah, so he turned around and he used to go around saying, there's no Randy. Whoever doesn't lead to a song is Randy, which was bull. He just said, everybody's telling me you're getting screwed, Randy. I go, what? He goes, they're ripping you off money-wise. Well, I turned around, I said, let me see contracts. They keep showing me the same contract. I said, before I break something over your head, I said, I want to see the contract of tonight's show. It wound up that I saw the same thing. I said, the group is broken up. What are you talking about? Well, there's $3,000 over what we were supposed to make.
Where's it going?
Yeah, and they're pocketing it. The two of them are pocketing. So I said, that's it. So now, I'm wondering why Jimmy Ina wouldn't put the records out. People were calling from all over. I can't get the record. I want the record. How do I get it? This and that. He turns around and he tells a friend of mine that played in another group we had back in the early 70s. We went to Hard Rock and we called ourselves Them and Us, like the people, them and us. And we did a lot of heavy stuff. I mean, we had long hair and the works, you name it. So a lot of record companies were following us that they wanted the group. It was just him, my brother, myself, and Mike Zero. Well, that wound up going out the window, and we went back to Randy and the Rainbows. That's when I took the kid Vinny in the group. Well, seeing things the way they went, Jimmy Ina saw it right through it right away. He said, Rand, I love the job you did on Minstrel Man. I want you to, he says, who could go in and mix the record? I want just a couple of remixes on certain spots. So I just said, whatever. And Vinny, I think I'm the only one that could probably take care of that for you.
The only one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he couldn't hear anything. He didn't know how to mix. So Jimmy says, sit down. So he goes, but I could do it. He goes, no. He goes, Randy, you got to do it. He said, I want you to take care of it. Okay, you meet with, I guess, like Joe Barbero. He was the biggest DJ, disco DJ at the time to make hit records. A lot of the hits that were out at the time he helped mix. So I went, I mixed it with him, everything. Jimmy Ina heard it, he flipped. He went, what a job. He goes, beautiful. Meanwhile, Mikey and Vinny, like, oh, you could have brought this up, or you could have did that. I said, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I said, you bring this up, you lose this. You bring that up, you're gonna lose this. I said, when you know what you're talking about, you can talk to me, So, Jimmy seen all of this, Jimmy Ina saw all of this going on. He said, a friend of mine who played drums for us, like I was saying, in the 70s, for a hard rock group, he married into Jimmy Ina's family. You know why Minstrel Man wasn't a hit? And I go, how would you know? He said, well, I married into the family. They love me. I said, great. I said, why wasn't it a hit? He goes, Jimmy loved you. He loved your brother. He hated Mikey. He hated Vinny. He saw what they were going to do. He said, the two of you guys were going to get screwed, or you would have had to have them killed to get your money and do things the right way. So I said, well, it could have been arranged. No problem. But it almost did come about where the two of them were going to get lost in there.
And the record that Gordy wanted to give us was Ronnie.
Ronnie wasn't recorded for, supposed to be on record. Thank you, Frankie.
Is that right?
Ronnie was the record that we were supposed to record.
I'm glad you told me that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a shame. A lot of good things went through our head because of some of the people that we were with. They didn't want to see us get hurt. So Frankie wanted to see us where we belonged, you know, in the field of doing good and all, and I just didn't follow through with it, you know, because of loyalty, and you find out that...
Loyalty has something, there's something to be said for loyalty, and that's important, and that's something you take to the grave, okay? So that's not to be ashamed of. You didn't make it big with the Jersey boys, you are who you are with your family and your friends.
Yeah.
And you're still Randy in the Rainbows today.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting ready to go up on stage, and you guys gotta get dressed. Now, you're gonna be up on stage in a few minutes. Are you gonna sing Denise?
Tom, we're gonna get on stage tonight and do what we always do, knock 'em dead. And,
After 50 years,
It's
you're
you.
still doing it.
well, you know, we keep trying harder, like,
51, I'm sorry.
you know, with everything that we went through last night to get here,
Yeah.
traveling.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, you said, hey, guys, how long did it take you to get here?
Yeah.
And, you know, you thought you were gonna hear like 6 hours, which you should have heard, instead of hearing 16 hours or so. I mean, it was crazy.
We don't wanna bring it up with the rest of the guys.
And
Okay.
for all of you out there, do not trust the GPS.
Taking that with Randy and the Rainbows. Okay, Dominic, thanks,
My
buddy.
pleasure, Tom.
All right, Frank?
Yeah.
I'll see you guys upstairs.
Go Okay, you want to help us out? Now it's only one word. Don't screw it up.
And it's diary.
Okay, we got it. Ready? That's all I ask is one word, diary. Say I'm the boy that you cared for, the boy who's in your